Boom! Here we are. Welcome to the Week 7 recap show. We're here. We're going to get it done. Demons are here. Bears are here. Man, what a weekend. Thanks, guys, for being here.
No problem, John. Let's talk some football.
Let's talk.
Anytime.
Let's talk some CSFL, Canadian Simulation Football. Let's go. League, let's go. First game, Werewolves, Gators. Wow, what a game. I'm super excited about this game going into overtime. What a game by Kerry Kirkland. What a game by the Gators coming there. They actually had the ball, I believe, first in overtime, and then the Werewolves got it, and then the Gators had two chances in overtime to win it by field goal. Demons, how do you feel about this game? What a great game, right down to the wire.
Another game with these Werewolves where, they're getting into must-win games all year. They've been getting into must-win games. This one they couldn't pull it off, but they definitely gave it their best shot, and they had a chance late. Kerry Kirkland came out swinging in this one. He had two TD passes in the first two quarters. Werewolves were up 17-3 midway through the second quarter, but he slowed down a fair bit in the second half. I thought the Werewolves D was playing the Gators really tough early on. Brendan Paris, a cornerback for the Werewolves, ended up getting an interception in the first quarter off the Gators quarterback Dorsey. Here's a theme for the week: is tight ends, John. Tight ends had gigantic games this week. Ed Wright finishes the day with 3 catches, 153 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
It was going to be 20-10 right before the half, and the Gators hit a big play. It's a 73-yard touchdown pass from Dorsey to his tight end, Ed Wright. This makes it 20-17. It changed the whole momentum of the game as far as I'm concerned. And it's a big play by the tight end. Werewolves weren't allowing any big plays up to that point. Now, in the second half, at 2nd and 16 for the Gators, and Dorsey hits Wright again for another long touchdown, 80-yard touchdown.
Wow.
This, in my opinion, is the best game by a tight end this season. Ed Wright outran the defense to the end zone on this one. He didn't just catch a deep ball. He caught a ball and then outran defenders to the end zone as a tight end. Amazing play. The Werewolves had lost some momentum after those plays. They regained some of it in the second half, but the Gators were up 31-27 with about 1:50 left, and they were driving. They could have they looked like they were going to have a chance to run out the clock. And then Matt Davis fumbles, and the Werewolves returned 74 yards for a touchdown, taking 34-31 lead. Werewolves tie it up. We go to overtime, and like you said, both teams get a shot, and it was the Gators who actually had to get it on a 50-yard field goal to win. Field goal is good. Crazy finish. Defenses showed up late, and both teams played hard. The Gators did outgain the Werewolves by a large margin. It was 443 to 339 yards, and but they had trouble on third down again this week. They only were only 28%, but they won despite that. One key player I would like to point out is the Werewolves linebacker Cecil Maynard. Had 5 tackles on the day, 1 for a loss, and 2 sacks, leading the charge for the Werewolves there. But they just couldn't pull it off. Gators outplayed them in the end.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. What a game, man. What a great breakdown. Let's go take a look at these. We'll take a look at the Werewolves first.
All right now.
Boom. These Werewolves here still finishing with the top-ranked defense after allowing 37 points. 2-5, now facing another 2-5 team with these Rhinos at home. Definitely an below-average offense, but they were so consistent, scoring every quarter. But that second-ranked pass defense is really keeping them in this race right near the end. 4 games left. How do you feel about these Werewolves in general, and when you look at these rankings, Demons?
The turnovers are killing them. Oh, my bad.
Oh, no,
turnovers
go ahead.
Are killing them.
Look at that. Yeah, that stands out for sure. That last place, -5 turnovers. Damn. What can they do to turn that around?
It might be a little too late now, but it's the quarterback situation there. going back and forth between QBs.
Barry Kirkland had a clean game last week, but I mean this against the in this week's game against the Gators. Last week he threw a couple costly picks over the middle of the field in traffic, and he's had some up and down games. That was great. He's shown a lot of potential, but yeah, he has contributed to that -5.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't have a turnover this game, right? He was 2-0, 266 yards and 126 quarterback rating.
Yeah, I was talking about last couple games though. Last time he's had some picks in some of his games he's played. He was clean this week, and oddly enough, they lost this week when he didn't have a turnover. They won some other week games when he's had them. So the interesting matchup this week will be that Rhinos offense against that defense, because the Werewolves defense do play teams tight, and that Rhinos offense is capable of opening a game up. We'll like to see how that one goes down.
That's a very good point. The Werewolves are good on defense, and the Rhinos are notoriously great on offense. That's for sure. Let's go take a look real quick at these Gators here.
The stats don't show it, but the Rhinos running back versus the really bad rush defense of the Werewolves is going to be a big story.
That's a very good point, actually. Mark Marshall could have a big day against the Werewolves. That's for sure. Now the Gators, man, coming away with the win in overtime, turning this thing around. A lot of people were saying the Gators may have been the worst team in the league after that performance against the Scorpions, and then they beat the Wildcats and see themselves at 3-4, matching the Cobras. Man, if they make the playoffs by one win, we'll be looking back at that Wildcats win, that's for sure. But they are ranked still with the 9th total offense, 9th total defense, last place for turnover differential. Man, do they have a chance against these first place defense at home? What do you think, Devens?
If I was a betting man, I'd bet on the Cobras. I know they're both 3-4, but these numbers, in my mind, they favor the Cobras. That offense, they had a good week against the Werewolves, who also have a good defense. But here they are coming in on the road against this top-ranked defense, and that turnover differential last in the league. They're going to be in tough. They're going to have to fight pretty hard to grind one out against the Scorpions. I don't think there's going to be a lot of room for their offense to operate. They're going to have to grind some field drives. I don't think they can get a lot of big plays in this one.
Yeah, against the Cobras, yeah. But I definitely agree, man. This defense looks strong, but that 12th ranked points per game and the 11th ranked points per game for these two teams tells me this is going to be a low-scoring game. Bears, love to hear your thoughts on the Gators in general.
I think that this game is going to be a really close one because of the way the Gators have been playing lately. They've been, even when they lost last, it's still a pretty decent game. I didn't mind it. They got kind of like things didn't go their way and it affected the score, but I feel like they played good. I don't know. I got some faith in these Gators.
Yeah, they definitely have a chance, man, to be 4-4 and turn this around big time in these last 4 games. This stretch is going to be really big. Any last thoughts on the Gators, and then we can.
The thing that's going to suck for the Gators this week, though, is they're really relying on the pass, and they're going against the #1 pass defense. So
That's
could be a nice one.
That's a very, very good point. That's for sure. Let's go take a look at the second Friday night match, and it was
this
against.
Is probably like my favorite, man.
I don't know if it was your favorite game, but I know that there's another game, but we'll get into that one.
No, it doesn't even matter. I like this game a lot.
This
tight defense.
This game, this Wildcats somehow came back and pulled this off. Honestly, it was looking like the Scorpions seemed to have control of the game and actually had a chance to win it right at the end, and I thought they were for sure. And what a play by the linebacker Alan Stevens to get the game-winning interception in the end zone. They could have kicked it and tied the game. Talk to the Scorpions. Obviously, you can know how he feels about it. He feels like they played really well, but had a chance to win it. Demons, love to hear your thoughts on this game.
I agree with Shane. This was my favorite game of the week.
Wow.
This was the going into the week. This was the game of the week. This was the two. Well, the Piranhas and Bears was also a fantastic matchup, but Scorpions and Wildcats. You had a top tier defense against a top tier offense, and the Scorpions controlled this game. Their defense was setting the tone. They were up 7-3 in the first quarter after the first couple drives, and the Wildcats offense was held in check. They were only at 266 yards on the day. This is the Wildcats we're talking about. Troy Jackson on some days gets 266 yards on his own. And now we're talking that the whole team only managed that much, and they still won. They still pulled off the win. So the Wildcats are capable of winning this grinding type of game, but I thought the Scorpions were going to pull it off near the end there. When Seymour threw that interception in the end zone, I almost couldn't believe it. They looked like the Scorpions looked like they played this game right down to the plan that they wanted to pull off. They kept the scoring low. They had the last possession. They were in range to at least tie it. That interception in the end zone was a killer for them. Unfortunate for Seymour to throw that. Last week we talked about Seymour hadn't thrown any interceptions all season, and I think we jinxed him. This week he throws 2, and I gotta say, both those interceptions, though, if you go back and take a look, the window was there. He was just a little late getting the ball to the receivers on both of those throws, because otherwise they're completions, and we're talking about a Scorpions win. The only big offensive player in this game was Tiki Carter. He had a 67-yard touchdown in the first quarter. He finished the day with 160 yards and 1 TD on 20 carries. He was the only really standout. Wildcats D played well containing the Scorpions, but the Scorpions play that conservative style. They don't really want the game to be wide open as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But I'm going to head back to that tight end theme. My boy Bob, the insurance salesman Klein, 4 catches, 78 yards. He was the Scorpions' leading receiver on the day, and he made a fantastic catch to get the Scorpions into the red zone on the final drive.
Yeah.
Tight ends were ruling the week. I mentioned Troy Jackson earlier. I just want to say one thing about him here. He's got 4 catches, 52 yards. That might have been the most contained Troy Jackson has been all season. And one other guy I've been following for most of the season is linebacker Ernie Pounds for the Scorpions. He continues his amazing season. 8 tackles, 1 for a loss, and a sack on the day. He leads that defense. He drops the hammer on other teams, and he's a big reason why this team is able to hold teams like the Wildcats to only 16 points.
Wow.
I got another take, Johnny. I know I'm talking a lot, but I got one more take.
No, you've only been 2 minutes, man. You're good. Go.
The end of this game, where the Scorpions have the ball, 1st and goal. There's like 40 seconds on the clock. They have timeouts. Tiki Carter is basically, like I mentioned, the only guy doing anything in this game. Why didn't they give the ball to Tiki Carter? They didn't even try him one time. Where was he? Give the ball to Carter. I'm sure the Scorpions owner must have said something about that to you, because he must have been pounding his head against the wall watching Seymour throw all those times in the red zone when you got Tiki Carter right there. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, it's so true. They're down by 3 and they're throwing it, and they didn't go to Tiki, and he's the one having the big day. Oh my God, they base it all around him. That's a chance right there for him to put it away big time. But the Scorpions owner actually mentioned last week or the week before when he was on the road that he finds his team calls these 5 wides. I don't know if it was at home or at away, but he noticed that his team was calling 5 wides a lot near the goal line, and I believe they did it again the play just before he threw the interception. He came out with like 5 wide. I was like, whoa, Scorpions looking for something. I don't know if they liked the matchup or what it was, but yeah, oh my goodness. Anquan Seymour finishing with 37 quarterback rating, 175 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions after going 12-0 in the first 6 weeks. Bears,
interception in the red zone, man. I thought the Wildcats were about to lose. Second he picked it off, I jumped out my seat. I was like, "No way!" I was like, "Holy shit!" I was just going off. I
Oh
was like,
man,
"No way!"
man, what an exciting game for the fans and for the Wildcats and Wildcats
I
fans.
voted the
But
Scorpions and the who you got. I was trying to go perfect on the picks this week.
and again, look at this now. Another two teams matching up with the same record. This is another two teams with the same record, 4-3, 4-3.
Ironic how that worked.
It's so crazy how it's lining up like this. And again, the Scorpions, I believe, for 2 weeks in a row, maybe more. I haven't looked, but they had the last ranked offense again. And now they have the second ranked defense. I think that shot right up because they only allowed 16 points there. But man, they are looking strong at a lot of places, running the ball, defense, turning the ball over. Demons, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Scorpions in general and maybe about this matchup here with the Dragons coming to town after a big win.
Well, the Scorpions in general, the 12th ranked offense, it's not that can't be that important to them. You have the second best defense and the second best run game. You can see from those two numbers alone how they play football. +4 turnover differential. This is points per game is their 10th. Well, where they're probably first or second in points allowed. That's why they're 4-3.
Right.
This team, again, it's why it's so baffling that they didn't go to Carter at the end of that game. When you see these numbers again, where you've got clearly your run game is your strength and you're leaning on it. The pass game, well, Seymour's been having a good season. He had one bad game here, but he's been having a good season despite that. He just doesn't have the yards to back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, these Scorpions, man, looking really good, man. But they scored 13 points, and they have the 12th ranked offense, and their core. This is here. Let me paint a bad picture because we talk about all the great things about the Scorpions because they are great. But paint this picture real quick. They got the last placed offense. Their quarterback had a 37 quarterback rating, and I don't know. It's and
they throw 3 times on the goal at the 5-yard line.
And they scored 13 points. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, they scored 13 points. Should you be worried if you're the Scorpions?
You know what? Maybe, because the way they're built, you got to play with the lead. Right. So can Seymour win the game for you if you're trailing? That's where you kind of look at those numbers and think there might be some concern. Because Tiki Carter and the run game aren't going to get you back into a game if you go down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter. You need to start throwing the ball.
Very, very good point. Yeah, very good point. Bears.
If I'm not mistaken, they also didn't score that many points. They played the Cobras, did they not? If I'm not mistaken. Who's going off memory?
Who's
the
that?
Scorpions.
Scorpions just played the Wildcats.
No, not just like this season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they played a few defensive teams. What do you mean?
Yeah, no, just let me double check here.
Hold on. So
yeah, when they played the Cobras, they didn't score that many points either. It was a low scoring game. But
yeah.
It seems like when the defense has an answer for them, they don't know what to do. So maybe they should work on that.
That's a good point, man. Now we'll give these Wildcats a little bit of love because we talked about the Scorpions in that matchup for a little bit. These Wildcats on a 2-game winning streak after losing to the Gators now find themselves 6-1 with the same record with the top-ranked team, 4th for points per game,
5-2,
third for rushing offense, 3rd for rushing defense, and now first, not tied, first place. They stand alone for turnover differential. Now they go on the road against this Demons team. 3rd offense, 3rd defense. Wow, man, look at all the 3s and 1s for these Demons. This is definitely going to be a great game. Is this maybe the game of the week for you, Demons? What do you think?
Johnny, what do you think? Game of the week for you?
Can I input?
I'd love to hear your input. Bears, take it away, because both of us...
Take it away, Bears.
Take it away.
So my thing is, the Demons throw it like they always do, and they get turned over because The Wildcats have the #1 turnover differential.
Hmm.
Is it really going to be a close game, or is it going to be a Wildcat like storm where they just pounce on them?
Ooh,
I don't know. There's going to be two toss-ups. It could be either their quarterback's on and there's no interceptions, or he's off and there's like 4 interceptions, but he has like 6 touchdowns and it's a blowout, like a shootout.
Oh,
There's 2 ways I could see this going.
he hasn't thrown that many interceptions all season. But are you calling a blowout?
I said it could either go 1 or 2 ways: blowout or shootout.
Well, I would say these demons are definitely going to put up some numbers. I'm not going to go with blowout. Shootout, for sure, totally possible. But
If
these
the interceptions start coming, and it's over.
demons, give me your thoughts on this before we move on.
So the Wildcats, 6-1, are now tied for first, and they're on a collision course with the Piranhas. I don't know if they play them a couple weeks from now or when they do, but that looks like it's going to be the battle for first place.
Yeah,
they don't have a lot of flaws, and that turnover differential is what you need to focus on for their defense, like we've talked about in previous weeks. That 10th and 11th rank for total and pass don't really mean much when you've got a +8 turnover differential. They play very efficient. They do what they need to do to win, as seen last week against the Scorpions. Yeah, the Demons might be in tough if they start turning the ball over, but it'd be interesting to see how that pass defense for the Demons stacks up against that pass offense for the Wildcats. I know they're 3rd in rush as well, so that might be the Demons are struggling against the run, so that might be where the Wildcats run away with this game, is literally run away with the game on the rush offense.
Yeah, that might be the X factor, eh? Wow. Okay, well, we talked about them for a few minutes now. Let's move on to the next game. The next game was the Saturday game, and that was... boom. It was the Vipers versus the Dragons. Another nail-biter. Dragons scoring 18 points in the 4th quarter. Oh my goodness. It was a close game. It felt like, for the most part, 17-14. Felt for the most of the part of the game, the Dragons it felt like, in my opinion, were in trouble. And then they turned it on in the 4th quarter. Huge pass deep down the middle by Brendan Platt right at the end there. And what a great game by these Dragons, really showing some juice in the year late in the season. Can they get on a hot streak late in the second half of the season and make a run for it? These Dragons are looking really strong, and the Vipers, man, another close heartbreak. They play so well all the time, but keep losing, man. Poor Vipers. I feel so bad for them. Demons, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this game and what was the key story in this game.
Vipers, you got to feel for them. They find new ways to lose. I mean, it's unfortunately the fact when you only got one win on the year. They went all Tampa Bay this time with their play calling, and the Dragons stuck with their tried and true run and gun in 4-3. Dragons did put in Bryce Locker at halfback over RJ Barber. I was looking for RJ Barber out there, and he did show up late with a touchdown. I will say that the Vipers in the first half looked like that their Tampa decision was going to pay off. Their offense was struggling. They had trouble getting some first downs until Barnett hit Plummer wide open on the left side of the field. The Vipers went 5 wide on the play, and the Dragons' corner just didn't stick with them, let them go, and it ended up being a 66-yard touchdown, and that got the Vipers going. Viper made another big catch on their next possession, leads to a Phil Clemens TD, and they were up 14-3. Dragons managed a field goal before half, and we're looking at 14-6 Vipers at halftime. They're in control of this game. Their offense is making plays. The Dragons they're holding the Dragons to field goals. It's looking good for the Vipers, and then the second half, just a little bit of an implosion. They had on one drive, the Vipers fumbled twice in a row. One was Barnett, where he gets hit in the backfield, and they ended up overturning the call. But then immediately after that, the Dragons forced a fumble off a pass. They just lit the receiver up, get a fumble, They recovered both fumbles. The second one stood, and the Dragons turned that into points. They take an early lead in the 4th quarter when RJ Barber, there he is, he was wide open in the back of the end zone. and like I'm talking wide open. He ran his route, stood in the back left corner, turned around, waited for the football, and then that ended up being a 31-yard touchdown.
Wow.
That was a key moment for the Vipers. I feel like they looked like they were imploding. They lost their momentum and they needed to respond. Their response was an 11-play long field goal drive to tie the game. It was a 2-minute 30-second drive. Now, they tied the game up on that drive, but it wasn't a touchdown. And you could see the wind being taken out of their sails. Their offense continued to struggle. They struggled all game really, other than that burst in the second quarter. The Dragons win on that 40-yard touchdown to Des Edwards that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Barnett throws an interception at the Vipers' last possession to Grant Hale, the left outside linebacker for the Dragons.
Yeah.
Really, I gotta say the storyline for this one is the Vipers failing to take advantage of that halftime lead. They built themselves up a nice cushion. They had a lot of things going their way, and they just failed to take advantage of the opportunity that they built for themselves in the first half. They let it get away in the second.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually lost the game starting in the fourth. They were winning 14-9. They didn't allow a touchdown, and I was very caught. I feel like they lost the game themselves.
Yeah, they didn't. The Dragons didn't win. You feel like the Vipers lost?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like everything they were doing up until that point, they just stopped doing in the fourth, and it really shows.
Yeah, well, the big story to me and Demons, man, I couldn't agree more with you as well. But these Vipers, only running for 33 yards. When they, like you said, Bears, they were up 14-9, and they just kept throwing it. And they only had 33 rushing yards. Got to credit the Dragons' young defensive line for turning the ball over, and for holding Phil Clemens, who's no joke, to 33 to the team to 33 rushing yards. Quincy Barnett finishes with 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 339 yards, and a quarterback rating of a 90.6. But the real one there is the 31 attempts. They just kept throwing it when I felt like they had a little lead there, which I was really shocked. But yeah, let's take a look at these Vipers. Boom, boom, boom. Vipers now find themselves on a 3-game losing streak. They're 1-6, and now they're at home against the 5-2, 3-game winning Bears that are looking like a really, really, really strong team right now with some momentum. Man, these Vipers are in big trouble. 11th ranked offense, 11th ranked rushing offense.
Shut the fuck up, Cat.
And
sorry.
Yeah, trying to do that.
No, I thought my shit was muted. Oh my bad.
Yeah. These Vipers are in trouble, man. That's the nicest way I can say it. I love you, Keegan, but man, these Vipers are in trouble. Demons, please give me your thoughts on the Vipers and what can they possibly do here to switch it up or to turn this around? And do you think they mathematically have a chance in 4 weeks to get back in this?
Well, 5 wins probably gets you into the playoffs. So you win your last 4 games, then sure, you can make the playoffs. So mathematically, they still have a shot. Realistically, I think the Bears eliminate them this week. We have 2 teams going in completely different directions here. We got the Bears 3-game win streak against the Vipers 3-game losing streak. The Vipers have just had a hard time getting anything established this year. They have a game in hand against the Dragons here. They let it slip away. It seems like the Bears, you're looking at a team that finds a way to win versus a team that finds a way to lose in the Vipers. And it's like, again, sorry, Keegan, not trying to be hard on you, man, but that's what happens when you're 1-6. I think you got to figure out what you got here. You're not out yet, so you don't have to think about next season yet, but you're getting there soon.
The team.
Wouldn't it be cool if the Bears won on an interception return touchdown?
Well, when they played each other, yeah, I
no,
know.
Wouldn't it be cool if we did it again?
The Bears have the 12th ranked defense, and the 12th ranked passing offense. Let's see if these Vipers can somehow turn it around and get Quincy Barnett. Now that they started him, their passing offense has definitely gone up a few notches. So let's see if the Vipers can take advantage of the Bears' young secondary, because they did get a big win, but they also let up 50 points. So let's see if these Vipers can turn this around and maybe get a big upset win against these Bears. That would be really, really excited to see that, obviously.
They're going to need Shane Lott to show up, because they've called on him before, and that last ranked Bears pass defense is they need Shane Lott to show up in that game. That seems to be the matchup.
I agree. If they get him going, man, that's going to be huge. We'll take one more look at this matchup. We talked about the Scorpions, but we didn't really talk about the Dragons. Dragons, they won, and I know the Bears say that the Vipers found a way to lose, and the Demons say they found a way to lose, but the Dragons still get the win, and they deserve the credit for holding on and turning it up and getting 18 points in the fourth quarter. Again, labeled as the middle of the team road. I think they got a big statement win coming up here, because if they beat a few teams and lost a few times, and like you said, in the middle of the road pretty much on every category, if they beat these Scorpions, I think that's a big statement from the Dragons. What do you think, Demons? And also, not only if they beat them is a big statement, but a little bit on the Dragons in general.
Well, I think they got to beat the Scorpions this week to drop the middle of the road label, because if they lose the Scorpions and go 4-4 and end up 5th and 6th in all the categories, I'm not going to stop talking about them like that. The Dragons, as much as the Vipers found a way to lose, the Dragons took advantage of their opportunities last week, and they found a way to win. I wasn't trying to discredit anything they did with mentioning the Vipers there. Brendan Platt is capable of carrying the team. He's capable of winning games for that team. He's shown it in a few games. He's obviously won a championship before.
Yeah.
They're a dangerous team that I feel like can beat anyone in the league, but they've also lost some games that have got away from them. I think they got blown out pretty bad earlier in the season. They need to. I think they just need to find some consistency, and I think that reflects in their middle of the road standing, so to speak, more than anything, is just finding consistency.
I agree. Bears, do you got some thoughts on the Dragons in general? I'd love to hear what you feel about the Dragons.
They're going to have to work on their rush defense if they want to beat the Scorpions. But other than that, they've been doing good. Like Demons are saying, they're like middle of the road. 1 week they look like they could be a championship team, and then the next week they're like, all right.
Yeah, I think the biggest statement this season that was ever made by the Scorpions from the Demons, had to be from the Demons, when the Demons said that they are a good team, but you have to be great in order to win. As it was something along those lines, and I believe he was talking about these Scorpions, and he is so right. That is this team good? We all know they're good. Everyone knows that they're good, but can they be great consistently? And never mind about the Scorpions, these Dragons, man. I want to see some consistency out of these two teams, and if they win against these Scorpions, we are all looking at these Dragons completely differently. Now,
yes, and and I did say that about the Dragons. It was when they were going up against the Piranhas,
right?
Because I think the Dragons had just come off a win. They were going against the Piranhas, and we were assessing that game. This one, we'll see. We'll see if that Dragons offense can overcome what the Scorpions defense brings to the table. I don't like that 10th ranked rush defense against Tiki Carter. I think that's going to be a mismatch. But we'll see how it goes. I think this one could be a tight one. I think a lot of Scorpions games usually are. I'm thinking the Scorpions will control the pace of this one. They have a way of doing that. The Dragons are going to have to overcome that defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about this one. I think this is going to have a big impact on the standings. That's for sure. Let's go take a look at the second Saturday afternoon game, which was the Cobras and Blue Jays. And let me say it first, the Blue Jays finally held on at the end, because, man, they had the lead, and the Cobras got the ball back. They had some time on the clock, and the owner was thinking it. I didn't even have to talk to him to know how he felt, because it was just looking like it was lining up that way for the Cobras to come back, but the Blue Jays come up with a big stop that they've been looking for all season. Super excited for this win. Huge win for the Blue Jays. This is must be a really feel-good win for these Blue Jays. Demons, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, to build on what you were saying, Johnny, that's that Blue Jays roller coaster ride. You never know how that game's going to turn out for them, and they came out on top of this one. I'm sure their owner's ecstatic because, yeah, they've had a few weeks there where their defense has just let it go in the end and made some bad plays. But this week they pulled it off. They managed to do it. They managed to make the plays in the fourth quarter and get the win. They started off pretty well. Blaine Higgins capped off a 2.5-minute drive, which included a 23-yard catch by their tight end Diggs, who caught the ball over a defender. Going back to tight end week because I didn't forget about that. The Cobras ended up calling the New York Giants offense, which they've switched it up the last few weeks. They had an impressive run by Charles Hackett in the first quarter. As a result of that, he spun through the defense a few times and ran 64 yards for a touchdown. After a quiet week last week, Hackett wasn't we didn't talk about him a whole lot last week. He had a not as impressive of a week, and he was back with a vengeance this week.
Yeah.
But Eric Reeves against that Cobras defense was the storyline going in. Mm-hmm. We all know Eric Reeves is the gunslinger. We know what he's capable of, but that Cobras defense is best in the league. Reeves did overcome that defense in the fourth quarter more than anything because their D was strong for most of the game, but they broke down in the fourth. Reeves found a way through him, and he started hitting big plays. 59 yards. He had a 59-yard pass to Coyle for a touchdown. An 81-yard touchdown to Jones where the coverage was just busted, which is unusual for the Cobras. You don't see that from them very often, but literally no defender covered Jones on this 81-yard touchdown, and they weren't even in the area. Reeves, though, this is an interesting stat. At the 2-minute warning of this game, Reeves had a 90% completion percentage.
Wow.
But the score was 14-10 Cobras, and the Blue Jays were punting with a 90% completion percentage for Reeves. It just goes to show you how good Reeves is. Sometimes he can't win it on his own. He's got to, it's a team game. Just no matter how good your quarterback is, you still need a team, even though a good quarterback is probably the most important thing. However, the Blue Jays did end up getting the ball back, and then Reeves responded by cutting through the Cobras defense for a quick touchdown before halftime. And then you can just know that the Blue Jays were thinking, this is the guy we traded for. Right there, they ended up. The Cobras got a field goal. There was a lot of action before the 2-minute warning. It was 17-all, but it looked like the Cobras were starting to wear down the Blue Jays. Started the third quarter. A lot of tackles being broken on multiple plays. They had almost 3-minute drive, but they ended up getting a field goal in it. And that was that. You see that 3-0 stat in the third quarter.
Yeah.
That drive ended on the 7-yard line on 4th and inches, and it's a 4-point football game. If the Cobras could finish that drive off with a touchdown, we're in overtime, and who knows what happens. I know that there's maybe the fourth quarter goes completely different because of that, but that was a big moment for me in that game when they had to kick a field goal from the 7. Simmons was making some throws in this one. He had a 47-yard touchdown that was a dime to Brian Williams midway through the second. He on that play, take a look back midway through the second. That ball travels at least 65 yards in the air. It is a wild throw and maybe one of the longest air traveling throws of the season by a quarterback. Hackett had a good game running. Cobras outscored their average in this one, but this isn't the style of game the Cobras want to play, and it showed on the final outcome. I mean, the Blue Jays, they got them into a high-scoring affair here, and the Cobras want to keep it low, and they weren't able to do that, and the Blue Jays pulled off the win. I gotta say, I think the Cobras D let them down in this one more than anything. They and even late in the game, they failed to get the ball back late in the fourth after the Cobras decided to punt on 4th and inches of the 2-minute warning, and the Blue Jays never gave the Cobra. That's where you look at the Cobras and say, okay, you got 2 minutes left on the clock, get us the ball back, because that's their defense is their strength. They didn't get the ball back, they lost the game. That's something you got to look at as the Cobras and wonder what happened there, because your D should be your strength.
Well,
one last thing. Sorry, John.
No, go ahead. No, this is important. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no. One last thing here is just the Blue Jays receivers both had great games. Coyle, 5 catches, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. Adams, 4 catches, 136 yards, 1 touchdown. Those receivers showed up big time, and they made they definitely put up big numbers against the tough Cobras defense.
The George Coyle and Adams was 100% something I was just about to mention, so that's amazing that we're on the same page, and they definitely did. George Coyle, MVP of the game, maybe? I don't know, but those 2 touchdowns were enormous, but that is not what I was going to bring up. A key note that most people might have not noticed that I'm going to mention here is that this number 1 ranked defense for these Cobras made a change, but it was a depth chart change to their safeties. They changed their free safety and their strong safety, moving them around, making this free safety go to the strong safety and putting their backup strong safety in at free safety, I believe it was. So they did switch it up there. I guess they wanted to see something or test something or didn't like something they saw last week, but I saw the difference. And just like you said with the busted coverage and these 2 receivers having a huge day and them not looking like the Cobras, it can't be a coincidence.
Well, you can't not try new things because of one bad experience here, but yeah, that's got to play into the fact that Eric Reeves had a great game. He was my MVP, but the receivers for the Blue Jays, yeah, there was plays where they were running open, and it's just not, you just don't see it from the Cobras that much. So that's interesting that you bring that up, because it had to have played into it.
It had to. They were doing so well. I'm not too sure what the switch was, but the Cobras know what they're doing defensively. But I'm excited to see if they stick with it or if they switch it or go back or what's going to happen there. Because I know they change their offense quite often, but they haven't really made too many moves on defense. But we'll talk about those Cobras in a second. Let's talk about these Blue Jays and give them a little love for that big win, their second win of the year. They finished with the 3rd best passing offense, which is, like you said, is really coming through for them, and that's the guy they traded for. But also he said he can't do it all on his own. 2nd worst defense. They score 32 points a game, but now they have obviously a huge matchup now on the road coming up here. Maybe they can take advantage of the momentum they have, and the Piranhas may be taking advantage of them after a loss. Need to catch them on their heels. What do you think, Demons, about the Blue Jays in general, and maybe about this matchup?
Well, I don't want to take the wind out of their sails here, because they did have a big win, a much-needed win. They were 1-5 going into the game, and you go 1-6, and it's your chances are getting pretty slim. But that 11th ranked defense going against the Piranhas offense.
Oh yeah.
They better figure something out to bring a good game plan here. I mean, Eric Reeves is going to have to bring his A game, and they're going to have to score like crazy on offense to win this one.
Yeah, that's for sure. I remember last week you were talking about the difference between the 1st ranked rushing offense and the difference between the 2nd ranked rushing offense was like 300 yards. I'm curious to know what the points per game difference is, because 38 points per game seems pretty high. I don't know. I think the highest I saw was 35, 34.
Yeah, it's like 3 points difference. I was paying attention.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's like 6 points difference between, 8 point difference, between 1st and 8th, 9th. It's only 8 points.
Yeah, wow, that's absolutely incredible.
High scoring games out here in the CSFL.
That's the way we like them. Yeah, well, look here, the last planked, speaking of first ranked for points per game, now we're looking at the Cobras. They have the 12th, and it's 23. So the last place is 23, and the top, so that's what, 16 point difference from the first to last? That's quite a bit of points.
14. Or 14. 13.3. So it's about a touchdown, 2 field goals. But you're talking about 2 teams that play 2 completely different styles. That's
not, for sure.
It's apples and oranges.
Give me some thoughts on these Cobras Demons after this now on a 2-game losing streak. They were looking really strong, man, at 3-2 there. And now there seem to be kind of, I don't know, on the downward angle, and I feel like the Gators are kind of on the upward angle. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Cobras in general.
I think it goes without saying that this is a crucial game for the Cobras. 3-4, 2-game losing streak, playing another team that's 3-4. I think it's a must-win for this team. You go on a 3-game losing streak this late in the season, you're reeling, and teams are going to look at you and think you're a must-win game if you keep losing like that. Points per game aside, like we all know their style by now. We all know how they play. Their defense has to carry them. Their defense has to be the strong point of this team to win games. So they've got to force some turnovers on these Gators, who are 12th on the turnover differential, and they've got to get Charles Hackett the ball to keep time of possession in their favor. I think they can pull it off, but this one, I think it's gonna be a tight game. This one's anyone's game. It's a coin flip to me.
Yeah, the points per game, like we were talking about when we're looking at the Gators, points per game, second last and last for points per game, and yeah, and a number 1 defense, and the 12th rank. Go ahead, Bears. No, please, Bears, give me something on these Cobras.
If this gets into a defense game, like a grind game, I think the Cobras win.
I think it's gonna go that way. It seems to look that way on paper, and like you said, if it goes that way, that's going to favor the Cobras for sure. Bears, give me some thoughts just a little bit on the Cobras when I set up the next graphic here.
I feel like they were doing so well last game that right at the end they kind of let it slide from them and let it get away. Like Demons was saying, it was that critical moment where they settled for a field goal, kind of like diminished their sails. They had all this momentum, and then they did that. And it really showed in the fourth. It really hurt them.
It's no one breaks more backs like that or hearts than the Demons. I feel like they score on like a lot of one play, big deep strikes, and I felt that way about that game too, where they worked really hard for that field goal, long drive, and then kick a field goal, and then the other team like immediately scores. Like,
yeah, it's really demoralizing. For sure.
For sure. Momentum swing. It's almost like a kick return touchdown. It kind of just takes a ton of momentum for your entire team. Makes the defense get excited, makes the offense excited to come back out. It's just all good stuff all around. Let's go take a look at we got 2 more games to go.
Oh, yeah.
Here it is. This is the big one. Bears versus the Piranhas. Nobody thought the Bears were going to win. I'm just kidding. Everybody thought the Bears were going to win in the Who You Got, which was really shocking. The Demons brought that up. But look at that second quarter. 21 points, 20 points. Bears were not letting up. The Bears started the game with an interception return for a touchdown. And I don't want to say they lost it, but like it felt like, oh man, the Piranhas intercepted, bring it back to the house right away. I was like, oh man, this is going to get bad really quickly. But then the Bears kept the pace and scoring 20, 10, 15, bringing it to overtime. Getting the ball first like they always do in overtime. 3rd overtime game for these Bears. They get the ball again, but this time they learned their lesson and they score on the very first play, very first possession on a huge, long throw to William Hillard. Well, wow, baby. What a game. Excitement. Demons, give me a little bit of breakdown, and then Bears, I'll give you the spotlight on this one, don't worry.
I looked at that league pick'em and saw that the Bears were favored. Yeah, I can understand why. Bears we were talking about them as the team to beat earlier in the season, and they're 5-2. They're 1 win out of first place. They're a strong team in their own right, but these Piranhas were undefeated going into this game, and they were easily the strongest team in the league. They still are the strongest team in the league, but to be picked to lose was kind of shocking to me. I don't know how anyone could pick the Piranhas against the Piranhas. They're almost like the Harlem Globetrotters. The Bears pulled one off on them here, but anyway, yeah, I'll get to it. I mean, this was the battle of orange and blue. It was that color scheme was everywhere in this one. Love to see it. Bears went West Coast on offense, started, and yeah, like you were saying, Johnny, it did not pay off for them. They started the game, they got sacked twice, and then Morris throws a pick six, and they only had their only first down in their first two possessions was off a pass interference penalty. So they didn't actually earn a first down. Morris was 3 for 9 early in the second quarter in this game. It looked like it was going to be messy. I agree with that assessment of this one. And then the Bears turned it around. Like their D cracked first. The Bears did. The Piranhas got the first offensive points of the game on a 60-yard pass to Burnsides, who snuck out on the left side and nobody picked him up. But this is where the Bears started waking up. They were down 14-0, and they started pulling off big plays of their own. It started with Hilliard breaking off an 80-yard touchdown run, and you knew the shootout was on from that point. And before you know it, it's 28-20 at halftime. Now, the Piranhas, it was another week for them where big plays were everywhere. This is nothing new to them. This is the type of game the Piranhas want to get you into. Their defense sometimes is non-existent, and they let up big plays just as much as they score them. But they come out on top of these games. This was just, it seemed like we were going through that story again. Piranhas were able to keep a lead among all this chaos up until the 2-minute warning. In some points, when they were keeping the lead, they would extend it again to a 2-score lead. But the Bears managed to chew away at it. They tied it up by the 2-minute warning, and it had the feeling of the first defense to make a play was going to win. Now, the Piranhas made their play on defense really early in this game, on the first drive of the first Bears drive. But then nobody really made that play on defense to take control of it. It was the offenses winning the day. It was as 51-45 would tell you. It's the exact opposite of that Wildcats Scorpions game, showing you how both ends of the spectrum are on display in this league, which is great. But yeah, offenses were on display. It was Williams handing the Piranhas the first loss on a long run in overtime. It was fitting fashion. He had a great day and a great run to cap it off. Huge game for the Bears. Statement win for the Bears. Their only 2 losses on the season are in overtime. They're here to make a run for it, and they're up. They're now putting their stamp on this league. They're up there with the big boys, the Wildcats and the Piranhas as well.
Wow.
Yeah, total offense on the day, 535 yards for the Piranhas, and 573 yards for the Bears.
Wow. Yeah.
One other thing, Johnny, because last week I thought, actually I got 2 other things, so I lied to you.
Go ahead. Yeah,
last week I thought the Bears would win this if they could win the turnover differential. That was my comment, and that was my whole take on the game. The Bears lost the turnover differential in this game and still won.
Oh.
Now, the other thing is the tight end week. Now, Friday night, we witnessed what I had thought was Ed Wright and his best game as a tight end this season. Well, Joe Claiborne for the Bears wasn't going to have any of that. 4 receptions, 123 yards, 3 touchdowns. The tight ends were out in force this week. Just another great game by a tight end. Great game by Joe Claiborne.
We have never, ever seen, and that's a never, ever, we have never seen a tight end get 3 touchdowns in this league. Most was 2 touchdowns, and the most catches ever by a tight end was 10. But yeah, like you said, no defense. Both quarterbacks threw 5 touchdowns. Bears, give me your. How did you feel going into this game when you guys were going back and forth? Did you feel like you were gonna lose? Did you feel like you had a chance? Like, these Piranhas were scoring at will.
I thought it was scary up until I realized that Burnsides was only averaging like 6 yards a carry, which is it's still insane for a running back to average 6 yards a carry. For a Willie Burnsides that only averaged 6 yards a carry is a good feeling, especially around halftime. And he only his longest run was only 17 yards. So the story of the day, like we were talking about last week, is that my high-ranked rush defense could be able to hold Willie Burnside. And to me, I think we did. And we ended up getting in a shootout, and it happens to be the captain's favorite thing to do. So he started slinging the ball, and Joe Claiborne, like demons, and you were saying, ended up being there and being a reliable source for Bill to hit those key touchdowns that we needed. Overall, it was a sick game. It could have been anyone's game. And then when we struck first in the overtime, the first thing in my head, I was like, we just struck first on the fastest team to strike. It's like we killed it and we won. It was good. I was happy. But still, my favorite game, not going back on, is the Scorpions Wildcats game. This game was a shootout, but that game, I love defense. That game was defensive.
Amazing. I got two things for you. First about the Bears, and second about the Piranhas. First one about the Bears is, Billy Shotgun Morris, or Bill Captain Morris. He might be the shotgun, but the ammunition, it was William Hillard this week. What a run, 148 yards on the ground and over 100 and something yards in the air, and then obviously with the big walk-off touchdown for the Bears. Super excited for the Bears. But the big one about the Piranhas is, here's a cool stat for you guys listening at home. You want to know how to beat the Piranhas? Well, guess what? The last time they lost was in the semifinal game last season to go to the championship game, and guess how much they lost by? 51. This week, they play the Bears. Next loss, 51. If you want to beat the Piranhas, you need to score 51 points, it seems like. Let's go take a look at these. Let's take a look at the Bears. Let's go give them some love here. We talked about the Bears a little bit earlier against the Vipers, but let's focus a little bit on these Bears. Give them some love. Second ranked total offense. Second for points per game. Second for passing offense with Bill Captain Morris. First for rushing defense, but last place for total defense, though they had a huge game. A lot of points they let up against the Piranhas there.
That passing defense and total defense is like the same principle as the Wildcats, the turnover differential. We do good at turning the ball over, so it matters, but it doesn't matter as much that we let up a lot of yards through the air.
Absolutely. Demons, give me some thoughts on the Bears before we take a look at the Piranhas.
Well, they might have reclaimed the team to beat category. We were throwing that one around all season, and they started with it. Then it went to the Wildcats. Then it went to the Piranhas. Then it went to, I think it's back on the Bears. They just beat the team to beat, so it's on them. And really, look at their season. They're back on a win. They're on a 3-game win streak here. Like I said earlier, their only 2 losses are both in overtime.
Yeah.
This team has not. No team has blown them out or controlled the game against them. They are in every game that they play, and they come out on top far more often than not. Second for points per game, second for total offense, best rush defense, great turnover differential. There's not a lot of flaws on this team. Their offense can score from anywhere. They just beat the Piranhas.
Wow.
So yeah, they're cruising their way into a home playoff game. There's nothing bad to say about them right now. They're going against a Vipers team, and this should just be a cakewalk for them.
Wow, these Bears are just looking super, super impressive. Speaking about
7-0.
I knew you were gonna say that. Let's give these Piranhas a little love. We've been talking about these Bears for a little bit. Piranhas.
Wait, did he just say 7-0?
Both my overtime losses because the AI screwed me. That's all I gotta say.
He said that the Bears should be 7-0. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's talking to the 2 teams that beat him in the call, though.
And the AI screwed me over both times I lost in overtime. So I'm 7-0 over here.
I don't know. Bill Morse threw an interception.
I see. Okay.
Bill Morse threw an interception against the Wildcats.
Let's move on to the Piranhas.
These Piranhas here. First for offense, first for rushing, first for points per game, second for turnovers. They have 6 wins in 7 weeks, 38 points per game. They just dropped a bunch of numbers. 5 touchdowns he threw. His quarterback threw 5 touchdowns, and then the week before, his running back ran for 300 yards. Man, they not only have a right hook, but they got a deadly jab when it comes to their boxing skills offensively, and their defense. I know it's ranked 6th, but they just let up a bunch of yards against the Bears, or that would be a much higher. Demons, Are the panic? Do the piranhas panic? Is that even possible? Or are they just a little bump in the road and they just keep on cruising?
I think they got to blow the whole team up now. They only scored 45 points last week. How are you supposed to win with 45 points? No, it's clearly they're fine. They played a very good team in the Bears and they lost. It happens. The Blue Jays are still in tough in this matchup. The Piranhas are still, in my mind, the best team in this league. They get into these high scoring games and they usually come out on top of them. Last week they didn't. Yeah. They also have a fantastic turnover differential, which is, if you notice, is the key trend of the top teams in this league. Wildcats, Piranhas, Bears, 1, 2, 3 for turnover differential. Top 3 teams in the standings.
Wow.
These teams they all have great offenses. They all have defenses that get the ball back for their offenses to score. They all do it in different ways. They all have different looks to their team, but that's the consistent thing between them.
That's a very, very good point. So the key is to turn the ball over and not trade your quarterback. Got it.
Or don't trade Willie Burnsides if you're the Piranhas. I'm pretty sure they could trade Alonzo Graham and they'd probably still be winning games.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big statement. Willie Burnside is pretty phenomenal. Okay, let's move on to the last game because we are at an hour now. Let's take a look at the last game here, guys, which was the Demons versus the Rhinos. I'm going to give a little round of applause to the Rhinos. Rhinos finally get the big win that they have been looking for so much. I know these Rhinos were super excited about this win. Held on to the end. Demons played great as they always do, but tried to make a huge comeback at the end. 21 points in the fourth quarter. Definitely was, the Rhinos had to be panicking. They were 1-5 coming into this, and they're letting up 21 points. Demons are just scoring at the end. They had to be panicking, but they still come away with the win. Huge game for the Rhinos. Demons still look good, but congratulations goes out to the Rhinos on their second big win, man. And super excited for these Rhinos here. Demons, love to hear your thoughts on this game. I know you watched this one intensely.
I don't think the Demons looked good in it. I think the Rhinos made a lot more timely plays and made key plays when it mattered, and the Demons didn't. I think that watching this game, the fourth quarter was the only one where the Demons looked like the Demons to me. I know that they scored 21 points, and I'm just talking with play calling, because the game plan for the Demons didn't change. The playbooks were the same, but it looked like a different team out there. There was a lot of short passes, force-feeding Lamar Lester the ball. He had 20 carries on the day, and look at the first 3 quarters, 10 points. Now that's a testament to the Rhinos' defense too. I will get into this because the Demons started with the ball, dominated time of possession. They had the first 2 drives were very long drives, and the Demons ended up with 3 points on both of them. They got down to the end. They got down to the red zone on both drives and only ended up with 3 points. The pick in between those 2 drives, Mark Marshall ran for a long touchdown, and that was the only play that the Rhinos had run up until 4 minutes and 11 seconds left in the second quarter. And they were up 14, and they ended up being up 14-3 at that point in the game with only running 1 offensive play. That pick 6, that 103-yard interception return by Dion Murphy, massive play, but it was one of many poor decisions made by Eric Watson on the day, because if you go back and watch, he's got open guys, including some better receivers that were open. He threw it to the covered guy. Dion Murphy takes advantage of the opportunity. He's there, right spot at the right time, takes it. Record-breaking 103-yard interception return. Great play by the cornerback. That was the backbreaker for the Demons as far as I'm concerned. The Rhinos won the game right then and there. If you watch the rest of the game, the Demons never really recovered from that. They struggled on offense. The Rhinos forced them to a ton of punts on defense. The Rhinos were the ones making the big plays on offense. And the Demons were trying to force the run too much even when they were down. The fourth quarter comeback attempt, it was exciting, but when you have to kick 3 onside kicks to try to get you get 3 chances at an onside kick. Maybe you would recover one of them, but they didn't. They lost. But if you have to kick 3 onside kicks to get back in the game, I think you're out of the game long before that.
Yeah.
From a Demons perspective, I will tell you that there was a play in this game that highlighted this game for me. You've got a team that's riding a 3-game win streak, going against a 1-5 team, and you got to think maybe there's some overconfidence running into this game. And this is the play to me that highlighted it.
Yeah.
It was in the 4th quarter. The Demons are down by 17 points.
Lamar Ball.
With 2:25 left. And Lamar Ball is wide open on a corner route to the right side. This is the veteran receiver on the team. He's supposed to be one of the smarter players. Starts high-stepping at the 10-yard line and gets tackled and doesn't score the touchdown at the 3-yard line. Now, they score on the next play, but that's hardly the point. The point is clearly that's an embarrassing moment for Lamar Ball and the Demons, and they better learn from that and recover, because we got the Wildcats next week, and you try to pull that crap on the Wildcats and they'll bury you.
Oh man.
Off game. Sorry, go ahead, Shane.
I said I was laughing so hard when that happened.
It was embarrassing play.
Yeah. Oh wow.
We gotta feel bad. Sorry to interrupt. But
Finish your point, Demon. There.
Well, no, it was an off game for the Demons offensively and defensively. I thought they usually, but actually maybe not so much defensively on the road. We knew their defense. We knew that our defense struggled, but strong game by the Rhinos overall. Mark Marshall had a great day, 167 yards on only 10 attempts and 2 touchdowns. Fantastic game for him. The Rhinos didn't have a lot of big numbers on offense. They didn't run a lot of plays. The Demons ran 53 plays, and the Rhinos only ran 32. But the Rhinos made the most of their plays when they were there, and that's what won them this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what a great game, and that's hilarious about Lamar Ball. They're playing a 1-5 team, and they're just like, oh, we're gonna cruise through this for a win, and the Rhinos hold on strong. Super excited, but that's awesome because it really goes to show like the mentality, which is really cool to see that it's like the AI just knows. Okay, let's go take a look. Let's go take a look at the Rhinos. Let's give them a little love since they won.
Yeah. The AI knew exactly what to do to make me angry at that moment in time. Have Lamar Ball high step on the 10-yard line. That'll make the owner happy.
Oh, quite a few people noticed that, actually. You're not the only one to mention that to me, actually. That was pretty funny. If he would have fumbled that, or if they wouldn't have scored on that drive, oh, man, that's definitely a play you would have been looking at like crazy if you would have lost, right? But these Rhinos, now on the road after a huge win. Is this the win that they turned their entire season around? I'm going to say it is. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the win that turns the Rhino season around. They're going to get a big game here against these Werewolves, and can they take advantage of this momentum because they have the offensive juice to get it done. 3rd for points per game, 4th for total offense, 5th tied for 5th for turnovers. If they can play good defensive games and keep these teams even under 30, this team scores 34 on average. They can score points. They just need to do something defensively. Now they're going against a really good defensive team at home with the same record. Demons, love to hear your thoughts on the Rhinos in general and maybe this matchup.
I love the matchup. The matchup is a game where one of these teams is propelling themselves back into the playoff race. Maybe even into that 8th spot. The Rhinos' numbers, I think we've been saying it all season, look good. They haven't found a way to win games. This week, they brought themselves such a lead that the Demons couldn't come back, and that like monster fourth quarter by the Demons aside, the Rhinos outplayed them for the vast majority of this game, and they built that lead up so much that the Demons couldn't come back. That was that if they can play like that, they can beat anybody. But they still managed a turnover in the game, and they're 5th in the turnover differential. That offense has got firepower. It's always been the defense we've been questioning, and their defense showed up last week. If their defense can hold Kerry Kirkland and the Werewolves, well, I don't think anyone doubts the offense's ability to get it done for the Rhinos.
That's so true, and I'm gonna say one more statement about the Rhinos defense before we move on. Last week, I have to say it. Last week, the Dion Murphy, which you said was the cornerback, Dion Murphy, the strong safety, actually got stiff-armed by Trevor Simpson and embarrassed him. And you mentioned that play, and I think Dion Murphy took that personally, and he came out and intercepted that ball against the Demons and brought it back, and that man ran like 10 dogs were chasing him, and he was holding a prize ham. That man took it and ran for his life, and I was so excited to see that. As soon as he picked it and ran it to the house, I was like, didn't the Demons mention his name last week? I think he took that personally. Had to have. The AI is just incredible.
Retribution play, man. Great play by Dion Murphy on that one. That was I had forgotten that I called that safety out, him out on that, and I guess I eat my words on that one, Johnny.
Well, obviously he didn't forget. That's for sure. He didn't forget. Hey,
put that up in the locker room as bulletin board material.
That's hilarious. Oh my god, I love that. Love that story. Actually, on this one, we're looking at the Demons. This might be the game of the week, Demons versus the Wildcats, but I'm going to let the Bears take this one. Bears, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Demons in general and this game. If the Bears are still here. And if he's not, then I guess the Demons, man. I just thought I'd love to hear the Bears' thoughts on the Demons, but Demons, man. Take it away, buddy.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Shane, are you there?
Oh, I think he's not.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here.
Here he is.
I'll let you run with it, Shane. Get an unbiased look at it.
Love to hear your thoughts on the Demons.
I think that the Demons look scary good when they're at home, and they look a little not so good when they're on the road. Their defense kind of falls apart. But I really think the story of the game will be, like I said earlier, is if the turnover differential and pretty much they only really pass. If you look at it, I guarantee that their quarterback has the most attempts of any quarterback in the league.
Most attempts?
Yeah, most attempts for throwing the ball.
Yeah, feels that way for sure.
I think the one game, like their first game, he had like 50 attempts.
39,
touchdowns.
39 completions or something. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
crazy.
he took that attempts record and ran with it after week 1.
Yeah. So, I think that they're a good team, too. They beat my team. They're a scary team when they're at home, so...
Yeah, the Demons did beat the Bears, which are the team to beat now. We'll have the torch holding that title, so that's a big point, actually. That's very exciting to see these Demons, and the Demons are at home. And yeah, everyone looks at that offense. Yeah, they talk about Eric Watson, blah, 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 blah. Eric Watson, Shane Antoine, gotta put the cork on him. Hey, Demons are great offensive, we all know that, but really, the real win, those 4 wins there, man, that defense is really keeping them in, especially when they're at home. And I see them having a big game against the Wildcats that have struggling offensively the last game. And I think that the Demons are going to really take advantage of that. That defense is going to do really well against the Wildcats offense. But the Demons mentioned it earlier. I think that rushing offense is really underrated from these Wildcats. Trevor Simpson, the rookie running back, picked up in the free agency, actually has the most broken tackles in the league. He's only a few ahead of Willie Burnside, but he has the most broken tackles. And obviously the turnover differential is big. Demons, man. How do you see this game playing out? You think it's going to be a defensive game, or do you think this is going to be a shootout?
Somewhere in between. How's that? Is that that's maybe a cop-out answer, John, but I think that's where it's ending up. I'd say the teams end up near 30 points apiece, and where their average is, and who comes out on top. I think if it was Demons at Wildcats, that we wouldn't be talking about this as game of the week. I think Wildcats at Demons makes it game of the week. Demons undefeated at home. Wildcats, one of the deadliest teams in the league on offense. I think we're in for a treat here. I think it's game of the week, but again, me and the pink machine over here, we're biased.
Oh,
But
love it.
yeah, the defense for the Demons. There's something about playing at home that makes this team different. I don't understand it, but it's there.
Yeah, their locker room is one of the best in the league, and I'm sure that the fans of the Demons are going to be selling out this game or that stadium. That's for sure for this game with the Wildcats, the defending champions from Season 2, come to town, and the Demons played well at home. Oh yeah, you could see this one being a huge game coming up, and I am very, very excited about it. That is for sure. So that is the last matchup, and we talked about all the teams. Bring up the standings real quick here to just close it out. Thank you
I have one
guys.
thing before we start the standings.
Go ahead.
You know why the Demons don't lose at home, but their defense doesn't play as good on the road? It's because they can't hear the hut. It's the snap. They're on the road. The whole stadium's going wild for the other team. Can't hear shit.
Yeah, maybe the Demons have one of the loudest stadiums in the league. Maybe, I don't know. We're gonna
And
have
they're
to.
just quiet when the defense is out to play.
Or they just don't travel well. Maybe they don't like to fly. They ride the bus to the other stadium. We don't know.
They have a cheap owner. He doesn't want to pay for airplanes.
Yeah, he drives a bus. He's scared. They're scared to fly. The
owner drives the bus to each game.
yeah.
They don't want to pay a bus driver.
Well, look at these guys looking real strong at the top. Bears in third place, Wildcats second, Piranhas number 1, Demons in the 4th, Dragons 5th, Scorpions 7th, Cobras 8th, Gators, look at that, holding on to that 8th seed. And then the bottom now with the Vipers at the bottom, trying to see if they can climb back up and get a couple wins and get some help from these Cobras and Gators. If they keep losing, they may be able to take their spot from them. Blue Jays, Rhinos, Werewolves on the cusp. Holy smokes, excited to see this one play out. And guys, thank you for your time.
Anytime, John. Love doing it.